I'm going to make the case that Bitcoin has not seen what I would call true hodling. In other words, true holding. People holding on to Bitcoin, not letting it go. You think that's what people are doing, but true hodling has not yet happened, and let's talk about why. I'm going to go over 4 different things that aren't being discussed that are different this time around. Let's assume, in my opinion, we're going into a bull run with crypto in general, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything. And we're at the beginning of something that is unlike what we've seen before in a huge way. Personally, I believe spot ETFs, index funds, and retirement accounts have not been discussed enough in terms of the impact that they're going to make on the crypto market, which will not be undone. That's my case. Let's go over the 4 things. First, if you take a look at this recently, talking about the spot ETFs of Bitcoin and Ethereum, they dropped, this is August 10th. I should say this is crypto for the rest of us. I do this 6 days a week, tip tool, coin analysis. And my disclaimer is always, I'm a big dumb animal. Don't do what I do. Informational purposes only. Okay. We all know that there was a drop in Bitcoin recently. It's volatile. If you're in this market and you've been in for a while, you're not surprised, right? But then this article goes in to say, well, right after that happened during the week, for example, the spot ETFs had a net inflow of 120 million. Net meaning money went out, money went in, but more went in than went out to the tune of 120 million. They said that Bitcoin ETFs were down, not a lot, but down for that week, a little negative, but they've been around much longer. Okay. A lot of people talk about these things as if they're no big deal. Let's understand that spot ETFs bring Bitcoin and then Ethereum, and now they're talking about Solana, and many could follow, and those index funds that Grayscale and others have, they bring the crypto market to an age group that isn't being discussed enough. And if you're in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, we'll talk about that in a second, but you may not realize the difference between your age group and people my age and older and why. So the first thing I wanted to point out was that these spot ETFs, these index funds, and retirement accounts are bringing these crypto assets to an age group that wasn't previously looking at it. When I say previously, let's talk about the last run-up. The last run-up, there weren't spot ETFs. As far as my knowledge, people didn't have the ability to buy the crypto within retirement accounts a couple of years ago. I don't believe they did. And we didn't have these particular index. So what does that really mean, and why is it relevant at all? I mean, who cares, right? Some people might say, well, I can get a wallet and I can buy Bitcoin, or you can go buy a spot ETF. It's no different. No, it's different, not from the standpoint of how you buy and sell it, but from the standpoint of what audience is now buying and selling it, and how much money do they have? Okay, let's talk ages. So if you're in your 20s, then you were born after 2000, which means the internet has always been around for you. Email's always been around for you. Smartphones have always been around for you. Downloading apps and banking on your phone, of course, everyone's been doing it forever. As far as you know, they haven't, but that's what you're thinking. That's fine. If you're in your 30s, then you were born in the 90s, but you were 16 or older in the 2000s, which means you pretty much also had the internet everywhere. And I believe smartphones were very taking off in the 2000s. So that's no big for you. And then if you're 40 years old, well, you were born around, this is August 10th of 2024. So was that night you're born in 96? So you're 16 in the 2000s? That's after the internet bubble. So you too had internet and phones and that sort of thing. Here's my point. Those that are my age, let's say in my 50s, I have many friends. Okay, I don't actually have many friends. But of my friends, most of them, even though they might be in technical fields, they've not caught on to this whole crypto thing. I've been talking to them about it for years, but getting and downloading multiple wallets or going to exchanges, doing the whole KYC, going through this, buying it and selling it and figuring out how to get money into an exchange, all of that is foreign to them. And they've been poo-pooing it for a while until recently. And this is what has opened my mind more so to Bitcoin than ever before. And that is now they're starting to talk about, well, what is this? How does it work? How do I get it? But you're talking about people in their 50s. Okay, most of my friends are using smartphones now and downloading apps, but 60s, 70s, 80s. Why do these people matter? 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Is there a difference? There's a huge difference. They don't know and don't want to know, in some cases, how to go get a wallet, save their passphrase, put something on an exchange. Forget it. They don't want to do it. So now there's spot ETFs. They could buy them. Well, we're going to talk about the amount of money in a second, but let's talk about how they buy them. Well, a lot of them have financial advisors. And it's just now, it was recently one of the big banks, I can't remember who, said they were just now telling their financial advisors, hey, you can now offer these Bitcoin and ETFs and whatnot to your customers, only a couple of them, just recently. And if you're familiar with when they help give financial advice, if you will, advisors, they're going to create a portfolio of things. For example, let's talk retirement accounts. You're going to have your equities, you're going to have your bonds, you're going to have your commodities, whatever else you may have in your retirement accounts. And you're going to have a percentage allocated to all of those. Well, Bitcoin in particular is being sold as, and I believe it is, the new digital gold. And so if that's the case and it's a replacement for gold, even if it's not a replacement, it's going to take a small percentage of those portfolios. Those portfolios are large. So listen to this stat. Did you know that people over 55 hold 30% of the U.S. wealth? And let's assume that people over 55 have not been buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, or anything else, and they're just now getting into it because these ETFs are available. That's $97 trillion. Here's another stat. More than 10 times, people over 55 have more than 10 times the wealth of people under 40. All right. So if we assume that most of the people who are using these smartphones and whatnot and buying the Bitcoin directly in the Ether and holding it in their wallets or even on exchange, whatever it may be, if we assume they're all under their 40s because of the age gap in technology, then 10 times more wealth is the people who are not doing that. But now they're being told within their financial portfolios that these ETFs with Bitcoin and Ether, and just imagine as we go, there's more of these, there's more index funds. I believe that 1% allocation of wealth might become a 2%. So think of this. If you say to yourself, well, I've got 20% of my wealth in Bitcoin, and an older person only has 2%. Okay, but they have 10 times more wealth than you. So you both have the same amount of money in Bitcoin. Think about that, right? So even if they're being told only put 2% of your portfolio in crypto, which is what I'm guessing most of them are saying, a small percentage, it's still the exact same amount you might have. All right, so let's talk about true hodling. This is what blows my mind. You may not realize this, but let's say that someone in their 20s, for sake of argument, has had their Bitcoin blow up after this bull run. They want to start a family, they want to buy a house, whatever it may be. Hodlers are hodlers until they're not. If Bitcoin truly takes off and just 100,000, 200,000, whatever it may be, and they're looking at it and they realize they can sell all of it and buy a house or a substantial down payment, whatever it may be, they might be inclined to do that. Okay? Someone in their 50s or their 60s is not going to be selling crypto to buy a home or even a car or anything. What are they doing? Well, it's in their portfolio. Or let's say it's in their retirement account. I have crypto in my own personal portfolios. I have it in retirement accounts. Well, am I going to need to sell all of it? No. How does a typical retirement drawdown work? Let's say people retire around 60, 63, whatever's the most advantageous tax-wise for their age group. Well, there's a rule of thumb. It's like 3 or 4%, I believe. They say, hey, take about 3 or 4% of your portfolio down every year as you retire to make it last a certain period of time. Whatever that rule of thumb is. Okay. So if you're talking about only selling 3% of your portfolio per year and your Bitcoin holdings are only 2% of your portfolio, you're selling a very inconsequential amount of Bitcoin, if at all. If you're looking at your portfolio and you're seeing that it has the best rate of return, you may never touch that. You might, let's sell some of these equities and some of these bonds, hold on to that crypto. Who knows? Point is, true hodling has not happened yet because it's just now getting into the hands of the truly wealthy, where all the wealth is, where they don't need to sell it. And if it's in a retirement account, They're not going to sell it. That's my point. There's not going to be forced selling because they don't need it, and it's going to stick there for quite a while. So I've just come around to the realization that I believe Bitcoin is way more powerful, and crypto, Ethereum, all crypto, as you get more of these index funds. I mean, there's a grayscale fund that's got, for example, Render in it. Okay, they're not predominantly Bitcoin. It's an AI index fund, and they've got like 5 different in the AI space. So as people who are wealthier start buying those things and holding on to them, well, that's not going to go anywhere. And when Bitcoin only has 21 million, or whatever the number is, I realize there's some that's lost and all this other stuff, but let's just say it's 21 million. And it's a static amount. And we're talking about, well, hodling helps the price go up. Well, what if it starts going into retirement accounts and it's not being touched at all? That's going to send it through the roof. So that was it for today. That was my point. Sometimes, just like in business, you got to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So those of you that are younger that believe in Bitcoin, I'm giving you the case that it could be much greater than you may even think. Or some of us that are my age that are considering getting into it, I'm making the case that this could really take off in a huge way. And you may not want to be on the wrong side of this. So consider Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other altcoins, and consider retirement accounts. I use iTrust Capital, but there's a couple good ones. I've got links below. And I have to say, I do get, I think, referral fees if someone uses a link. Anyway, have a great day, and let's make generational wealth together, and keep an eye on this bull cycle, because I think it's going to be greater than anyone has even considered. Because if crypto starts to run, the older generation is going to start seeing the articles, and they're going to start buying some of these funds, and they're going to start buying up a lot of these coins. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.